Hey guys, it's Mark from the Sports Corner, and it's week 9 in the NFL, and I'm here to give you all my predictions for every game and my best bets towards the end. Just a quick recap. In the last 4 weeks, I've been above 500 and choosing every game the last 4 weeks, and 11-2 in my best bets. 11-2. So if you've been tailing me and just following my best bets, you would make some money. I definitely made a profit, so hopefully you guys made some profit as well. And with all that, guys, if you can like and subscribe this, that would be great. It costs you nothing. I do a lot of research to make sure I make some good educational bets here, so that helps both of us make a profit. And like I said, we are doing great, above 500 each week for the last 4 weeks, and 11-2 in my best bets. So with all that being said, again, let's do it. Let's go week 9. Let's go through all the games, and I'll give you guys my best bets at the end. And the first matchup in week 9 in the NFL, we have the Houston Texans playing the Jets. Jets being favored by 1.5 and the over-under being 42. Let's just start with the Jets. They come off an embarrassing loss to the Patriots. The Patriots are arguably one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they lose to the Patriots. They're now 2-6, and all we heard was that Aaron Rodgers is going to give us what we needed. We were always one quarterback away from, going to the playoffs and possibly going to the Super Bowl. We're one quarterback away. No, you're not one quarterback away, Jets. You are the Jets. You are terrible. You're an awful team. You have all this talent, and you're terrible. I don't know. I can't remember the last team that had so much talent on one football team and they have a 2-6 record. I think the only team I could think of is the dream team of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's it. Because you guys have all the weapons: Breece Hall, Wilson, Lazard, Devontae Adams, Sauce Gardner, Reddick is now back, and Aaron Rodgers. And you guys are still losing. It's embarrassing because you're the Jets. Just wear garbage bags 24/7 when you go to the stadium when you're watching the game. You should just be wearing garbage bags while watching the games on TV. That's how awful of an organization the Jets are. Besides that, like I said, they got great weapons. They actually put up decent numbers. They just can't finish games, and just organized as hell, undisciplined, firing their head coach, having a guy call new plays, all in the middle of the season. They're just disorganized as hell. Let's talk about the Texans. Texans are coming off a close win against the Colts. Colts should have won that game, but Anthony Richardson just blowing it as usual, throwing it there. He'll make one fantastic play with his arm, and you're like, wow, how did he do that? And he'll sail a ball 20 yards past his receiver the next play. So the guy's so inconsistent. He gets replaced by Joe Flacco. That's later down the line. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Texans beat them, great. But at what cost? They lost Diggs for the year. So Diggs is out for the year. Nico Collins is out he's been out for a few weeks. I don't know if he's coming back next week for this game. I don't think he is. But So now, Stroud is without 2 of his top weapons in the receiving. And all he has is Tank Dell and Robert Woods. Tank Dell's all right, but I don't think he's the number 1 wide receiver. And Robert Woods is a shell of himself, so he's not good. And they got Michi. I think they chose him the first or second round. Regardless, he's a bust. And they got Schultz at tight end. And so I'm not really liking any of these weapons. The only real weapon that he does have is Mixon. Mixon has been killing it since he's been off the IR, or since he's been healthy. He's been just add an extra boost, getting over 100 yards, good catching back as well. So that's the only thing they have, because I'm not trusting any of these wide receivers. CJ Stroud is also the 4th most sacked QB. So, the Jets, now that they have Reddick, they could possibly get after him and cause trouble. And he needs now more time because he doesn't have any of his weapons with him, his best weapons, I should say. And the Texans are 4-1 against the spread, their last 5 games as road underdogs. So that's not bad. And the under is 6-2 in Texas games this year. So all that being said, we have the disorganized, undisciplined, terrible Jets against a depleted Houston Texas team that a lot of the weapons are hurt, and Stroud is getting sacked by the opposing teams. So I don't like this line of 1.5. I'm just going to take straight up the under 42. I think it's going to be a 23-14 game, around that 38-37 kind of score. I think these teams are both struggling. One struggling because they're the Jets, because they're always going to struggle, and the other team's the Houston Texans because they are beat up on the offensive side. So give me under 42 in the Texans and Jets game. But other than that, I want to take anything else. In our next matchup, we have the Miami Dolphins versus the Buffalo Bills, with the Bills being favored by 6 points and the over-under being 49. The Dolphins are coming off a loss to Arizona. They kind of blew that game because Arizona was down 9 points in the fourth quarter. So, I had the Dolphins as my best bet for that game. So thank you, Dolphins. But the offense looks better with Tua. It just does. Looks better with Tua. They put up over 20 points. And A-Chain looked really good. Tyreek Hill finally went over 70 yards. So this team just looks better with David Tua. I don't know. All those backups, they could just go back on the unemployment line because they were all terrible. So I don't know why the Miami Dolphins even has them on the roster. It's a waste of space. But he looks good, great. Tua was threw for 234 yards and 1 touchdown, no interceptions, no concussions no concussions either. So that's good. The Dolphins defense is not half bad. They're only allowing 300 yards, 22.4 points a game, which ranks 6th in total defense. So that's pretty good. They're 5th in passing defense, only allowing 176 yards. So that's really great. But they got a pretty bad rush defense. They're allowing 123.7 points on the ground, which is not good because the Bills look really good with Cook rushing the ball last week. And by the way, this is the same game that Tua got his concussion and he threw 3 interceptions against the Buffalo Bills. So just keep the reminder, this is the game where he got the concussion. Dolphins are 1-9 against the spread in their last 10 games. And they lost 8 straight games against the Bills. So this is brutal. And let's talk about the Bills. The Bills, they come off a blowout win against the Seahawks. Not really impressive because I think the Seahawks are a garbage pretending team. They won this game without Amari Cooper doing anything, so that was really nice to see. The big acquisition they traded for, they don't need him at all times. But the offense is humming. They're averaging 336 yards per game, and they scored 28 points as well. So they're almost scoring 29 points a game. Cook is playing well, had a great game last week, over 100 yards. Bills' defense has been pretty solid. They're allowing 328 yards per game. They're allowing 18.3 yards a game, and they're allowing 208 passing yards per game. So not bad. But, big but here with low caveat, the Bills' best wins are against the Cardinals and Seahawks. And that's not good because the Cardinals are so inconsistent, and the Seahawks, I think, are pretenders. That whole division is full of pretenders, the NFC West. So don't think the Bills, these good defensive numbers are really great. They haven't played the best competition here. And I guess a little, big pump up for them. They get Von Miller back, and Von Miller he was only playing like close to 35-40% of the snaps, but he was getting after the quarterback. So he's rested for 4 games. Probably good for him because he's a bit older. I believe he's 36. So it would be good to get him back. But you know what? All that being said, I've lost a lot of money in the Dolphins this year. I've picked them 3 times to cover. But with this game, I think it's a good game to buy low on the Dolphins. I think right now the Bills a lot of people are jumping on them to win and cover. I think this is the best time to pick up the Dolphins at a high number. Right now, like I said, I see it at 6. I like them at 6, but if you can get the Dolphins at 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, take it. I think the Dolphins put up enough points in this game to stay close with the Bills. I think the Bills win, but I think Miami does enough and Tua knocks more rust off and looks better, and they keep the game close enough that Miami covers the 6 points, or like I said, try to get the game at 6.5 or even better than that. All right, and so in this matchup, we have the Raiders versus the Bengals, with the Bengals being favored by 7 points and the over-under being 46.5. Vegas is coming off a loss to Kansas City, but hey, they did cover. They got a backdoor cover towards the end, so good for them and good for all the teams who bet the Raiders that game. But like I said before, I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks. There's no talent on this team. They traded the last guy. Oh, actually, you know what? I take that back. They have two talented guys. They traded one of them in Devontae Adams, and they have one great tight end in Bowers. Bowers is the light at the end of the tunnel. He is their beacon. He's the only thing they have going for themselves, and actually the best thing they have going for themselves for future players, because that kid is killing it. Over 500 yards receiving, and the guy looks like he's going to be the next batch of great tight ends in the NFL. But other than that, they traded Devontae Adams. Their wide receivers are Jacoby Myers, which he's decent, but I think he's more like a third, maybe fourth wide receiver in a lot of teams, maybe even second. I would say he's a good third wide receiver. Their running backs are awful. Madison White, don't trust them. Those guys can't get past a Pee-wee football team, okay? So, and their other wide receivers are Trey Tucker. The guy's fast, but that's about it. Not really good wide receiver. So they're awful on offense. Defense is where they have some of their bread and butter. They got Max Crosby, of course. Max Crosby is a beast out there. He's Mr. Superman on the defensive side. They have a great pass defense, which is ranked 7th in the NFL. That's amazing. That's why they probably get to cover some games, because that pass defense, the defense in general, is keeping them alive. They're in 4-4 against the spread. They've covered 5 of the last 7 road games, with 3 of those covers coming by more than 6 points, which the Cincinnati is favored by 7. And they're 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 games against the Bengals. So the Bengals have had their number of lately. So let's talk about the Bengals. They played against the Eagles, and the Eagles took belt to ass to them. They get blown out by the Eagles. All we have been hearing, though, this is another team that all we've been hearing, that the Bengals they just need to win. This is a must-win game. It's been a must-win game for the Bengals the last 4 weeks, okay? Philadelphia comes to Cincinnati, and they just drop them like a bad habit. They put 30 on them. So when is this big going to happen, this must-win going to happen for the Bengals? Because I don't see it. They're on the verge of losing the playoffs. I know they have an outside shot to make the wild card, but come on, man. They have Joe Burrow, obviously, MVP type of year he's having. He's close to 2,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, only 2 picks. Jamar Chase, he's really great. Higgins, the guy can't stay healthy this season. He's hurt again. He's questionable for this game, so keep an eye out for that. They only have 1 game or 2 away from a wild card spot, so they do have something to fight for if that gives them any motivation. And for anybody who wants to bet the Bengals have covered the spread in 4 out of the 5 games against teams with losing records. The Raiders obviously have a losing record, so that's good to hear. But they're 0-4 against the spread at home this season, and they're 4-4 against the spread for the whole season in totality. So they're not too bad. So with that being said, the Raiders making some sneaky backdoor cover against the Chiefs. They're 4-4 against the spread. The Bengals are 4-4 against the spread, but they haven't won a game at home. They're 0-4 against the spread this season. So with that, I like the over 46.5. I think the Bengals can drop probably 27 to 30 points on the Oakland Raiders. But I also like the Raiders to do enough to score some points here. Like I said, they got some okay weapons and Bowers and Jacoby Myers. So not too bad. But I think the best play here is the over 46.5. And if I was going to bet this game who'd win it, which I'm not, give me Bengals on a bounce back win. Bengals covering the 7 points, trying to stay alive and make the playoffs this year. So I think that might give them some extra motivation. So give me the Bengals minus the 7, covering the 7 points. But I think the best bet here is the over 46.5. And we have a surprising good matchup here. That's the Denver Broncos versus the Baltimore Ravens, with the Ravens being a favorite by 9 points. Sometimes you see it 9.5, and the over-under is 45.5. With this game, I say surprisingly because I'm surprised the Denver Broncos are 5-3, and they're 3-1 when they're playing away. So I'm very surprised, but I'm not a Denver Broncos believer. We'll get back to that. Let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. They get embarrassed by the Cleveland Browns. I mean, I had the over as one of my best bets in that game. I knew the Browns were going to score points because I thought Winston would add juice to their offense. And also, I've been saying it for the last few weeks that the Ravens secondary is god-awful. People just hear Ravens and they think good defense. It's not the case anymore. They have a good rush defense. It's number one. But, every team is exposing them in the pass, okay? The Buccaneers put like 30 points against them, So you could pass on the secondary easily. And two of their corners are beat up, Humphrey and Wiggins. I think Humphrey is still questionable for today's game. I think Wiggins might come back. But still, they're beat up. And when they are healthy, they're still not good in the secondary. Like I said, Winston lit him up. He threw for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And that was his first game playing this year. It's like, come on, Ravens. Ravens make a big trade for Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver for the Panthers. Good trade. I think they might be going. I think they do that trade because maybe they're thinking, hey, if we can't stop you on the pass, our defense will actually be our offense. We'll just score a crap ton of points and you can't come back enough. Maybe that's their theory they're going with because they need secondary help. I know they're not trading for it. They traded for a wide receiver when they should have traded for a secondary piece and a cornerback, a safety. I don't know, another safety. They need the help. They're dead last in pass defense. Lamar is, let's go talk about the offense. Lamar Jackson is cooking. He almost has 2,100 yards passing. He has 17 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. Great ratio. I believe he has a few touchdowns rushing as well. So the guy's just killing it. Derrick Henry is probably going to get over 1,000 yards in this game. He has 946 yards rushing with 9 rushing touchdowns. And I believe he has a couple receiving touchdowns. So the guy's at 10 touchdowns or he's over 10 touchdowns already. And he's going to get 1,000 yards rushing in week 9, which is unbelievable. But, some betting stats for here. If you want to be a bet on the Ravens to win this game, they're 4-3-1 against the spread. And they're 7-1 to the over. The Ravens, great team. Oh, they're almost a complete circle team, but they can't complete that circle unless they get help from this. They go get help for their secondary, or it's just going to be another year getting to the playoffs, probably get in a shootout, and then they lose in the playoffs, So they need to go get some secondary help if they're going to try to make a real shot at the Super Bowl. So if anybody's watching this from the Ravens, any Ravens fans, man, I'm sure you guys are shouting it, but they need help on the secondary if they're going to be a serious team. Let's talk about the Broncos here real quick. Like I said, I'm not a believer in the Broncos. I've been having them on my fool's gold list as soon as they've been winning games. They've won 5 of the last 6 games, and I've been on it saying like they are not that great. They look that great because of the competition they're playing. They've only beaten one team that has a winning record, and that's the Buccaneers. Other than that, they've beaten bums like the Panthers, the Saints. So that's the teams they're beating. Teams that are god-awful, okay, on offense. Bo Nix haven't been terrible. I mean, he's a rookie, but so his rookie numbers are not too bad. He has 1,530 yards passing and 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. They have Javonte Williams at running back. He's okay. I think he's like better than average or just average. They only have one wide receiver and Sutton. That's it. Who's really scared of him? I think he's above average wide receiver. He's not bad. I think he's above the average. But that's it. That's all they have for the only person they have you reliable to pass it to. Because this team is all defense. Patrick Surtain, they have one of probably arguably the best corner in the league. They're third and scoring. They're the third best scoring defense, and they're third in yards allowed. So they're stopping teams from scoring and producing yards. So it's defense and trying to rush a ball and using Bo Nix legs and play action. That's how they try to beat you. But I'm not a believer. Like I said, the Broncos, they've covered 5 of the last 7 road games. That's good for anybody Broncos bettors. So all that being said, the weakness of the Baltimore Ravens is their pass defense. But Broncos they like to run the ball and play good defense. So they're not really keen on passing the ball around because they only got one good wide receiver. So I don't know. I'm pretty sure here they can't expose the Ravens. Secondary. But all that being said, I don't think Deontay Johnson's going to make a big adjustment here. I don't think he's going to make a big improvement to their wide receiver just yet. I think he'll probably need a couple games to get used to the Ravens playbook. I know they got Derrick Henry. I know they got all these weapons. But I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think the Denver Broncos could keep it close enough. I think they're going to lose the game. So if you want to bet the Ravens money line with a parlay, take it. But I think they keep this game just close enough that the Denver covers the game. And I said it was at 9 points, but I'm seeing in some books that it's 9.5. So if you could get it at 9.5, take it. Some books the books might go to 8, but I think the best bet here is Denver Broncos plus 9.5, because I think they keep it just close enough to cover. Ravens win, but the Broncos cover. At our next matchup here, I'm actually excited to watch the Chargers versus the Browns, with the Chargers being favored by 1.5 and the over and under being 42.5. I'm surprised. I'm surprised to watch this game, that I want to watch this game, because usually I don't want to watch Chargers games because the Chargers are god-awful boring. But I want to see Winston. I want to see how he does against a really good defense. He beat a team that had a really good offense. Now I want to see how he really does. I want to see how he does against a good defense. I think it'll be a good test for him. Let's start the Chargers. I don't believe in them. I think they're fool's gold. I know they're 4-3. They just got done blowing out the Saints. Saints are a terrible, awful team, especially when the Saints are without their David Carr. So they beat the Saints team. Good for them. They blow them out, but the Saints are terrible. Just like the Denver Broncos, all they want to do is run the ball and play really great defense. They have a really good defense. They're only allowing 13 points a game to opposing teams, which is number 1 in the NFL. So really great. But when you dig deeper, they're only allowing 13 points. Okay. But they've only beaten one team that has a winning record. So them allowing only 13 points, they're playing terrible competition. They only beat one team with a winning record, and the rest are just bums. So don't let that fool you. Just like with the Broncos, don't let that fool you, because they're playing against teams that are not good. The Chargers really don't have any weapons. Dobbins is like the only thing they got going for them. He has over 500 yards rushing, and he has 4 touchdowns. Herbert has 1,443 yards passing. That's even worse than Bo Nix. And yeah, he has 8 touchdowns and 1 interception. And the rookie they have there, McConkey, I think he has 376 yards receiving, and he has like 4 touchdowns. So nobody's really scared of whatsoever. You don't have to worry about their offense at all. They just want to play defense and run the ball. That's all they want to do. So that's why I'm not a believer in this team. Like this, they're not going to go anywhere. I don't care if they're 4-3. This offense is not going to take them anywhere. And like I said, they only beat one winning team, so I don't believe in that. It's fool's gold. Fool's gold, people. Let's talk about the Browns coming off a great upset win against the Ravens. If you guys watched my last week predictions, I had my best bet was them and the Ravens to go over the number. But I also said that I think they're going to make a sneaky cover. I didn't think they're going to win outright, but I thought they were going to cover because Jameis Winston adding some juice to their offense. They still have a solid defense. People keep on forgetting that they have a solid defense. They're like in the top 10 for some things, but out in the top 15 in some other things. So they have some good defenders. And let's don't forget, the Browns were in the playoffs last year. Okay, it's just that they had Watson, the terrible quarterback. The guy is just a black hole. So him gone, you could tell the offense looked different. He had a great game, Winston, against the Ravens. 334 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. Nick Chubb is getting better and better. More carries. So be prepared to watch that. I think he gets around the same carries he had last week. He had 16 carries last week. I think he gets around between 16 and 20 again. So he's just going to become better and better. Ford is also questionable, the backup running back to Chubb, but they have a nice, solid, running back core, and Pierre Strong, Foreman, and Ford and Chubb. That's a solid running back core. Okay, those are actually good backups to have behind Chubb. The Browns have won 8 of their last 9 games against teams that held a winning record. That's pretty impressive. So all that being said, I am riding with the Cleveland. I am riding with Jamie Winston vibes. I like this juice he's bringing this team. So I am taking this Cleveland money line, but I will also, for if you want to just insure yourself with this matchup, take Cleveland plus the 1.5. But I think the Cleveland Browns win this outright. So give me the Cleveland Browns money line. And this matchup is just two bottom of the barrel teams facing each other. The Saints versus the Panthers, with the Saints being favored by 7.5 and the over/under being 43.5. Both these teams are on 5-game losing streaks. So, God, it's just awful and terrible. I'm going to make this quick. The Saints, they do get David Carr back, so that's great. It'd be interesting to see how David Carr plays without Rashid Shaheed, the wide receiver who would stretch the field for him. So I think there's going to be a lot of dinking and dunking in this game by David Carr. They still got Alvin Kamara. I like Alvin Kamara for an anytime TD. So if you want to put that in when you're betting, I think that's a good play. They do have Olave. Olave is a decent wide receiver. So, but I don't think Olave is going to be really stretching the field out like Rashid Shaheed would do that. Their defense is really beat up. The Honey Badger is questionable. Lattimore is questionable. Kool-Aid is questionable. Rico Payton, questionable. All those guys are corners and a safety. So they're all beat up. Adabo, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, the other cornerback, he's out. Will Harris, he's still out. So they have all of their secondary is just beat up. So keep an eye on that and who's going to actually play the game or who's going to be out for that game in this secondary, because they're just beat up. And they're 1-5 against the spread in the last 6 games. So it's not looking good if you're a sense better. I'm not confident that they could cover this number, 7.5. The one thing that you probably hang your hat on here is that they're 5-1 against their spread in the last 6 games versus NFC South opponents. So they are beating up against their division rivals. But that still doesn't bring any confidence in me to bet on the Saints. But let's talk about the Panthers before I give my prediction here. Panthers traded Deontay Johnson, so they're waving the white flag a bit, seeing what their young guys could do. They trade him to the Ravens. Bryce Young is now going to be the starter, but he had his best game yet last week. He threw for 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. But, hey, that's better than how he looked when he first started when the season began. Adam Thielen might come back. I know he's they could bring him off the IR now, and he's doing practicing slightly, so he could come back. But I don't think they will. I think they'll wait another week. Looks like Jonathan Brooks, the guy they drafted in the 2nd round, it looks like he's going to be playing in his first game in the NFL. I don't think he'll probably get a lot of playing time. That team still runs through Chuba Hubbard. But if the Panthers could use a 3-headed running back here, Miles Sanders included with Brooks, I think that's a good recipe. Use these 3 running backs and then throw it to your 2 rookie wide receivers. So there's a good chance they can, work with something here. Their wide receiver, Leggett, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. He's not doing so bad himself. He has 22 receptions for 211 yards and 3 touchdowns. He looks like he's going to be the main guy now because Deontay Johnson got traded. But if they just make this a good running core team and to use some play action, they might be able to surprise the Saints because how beat up they are. I think Young has a decent game in this game because the Saints are beat up, like I said. They can use all 3 of the running backs to keep the game close. And, I just think that the Saints are just getting a lot of juice right now because David Carr's coming back. But, David Carr's not some world beater. I don't think David Carr's worth 7.5 points. I don't think he's worth that much. So, all that being said, I think Young has something to prove in this game. I think all the young players want to prove. They're hungry. All the rookies on the Panthers on the offense, they're 2 rookie wide receivers. And I think Young wants to show that he's not a bum, that he's not a bust. So I think he wants to prove that. So, and I think David Carr might have some rest from being hurt for 4 weeks or 3 weeks he was out for. So give me the Carolina Panthers plus 7.5. I think they keep it close enough that they could cover this game. I think they run the ball a lot and they expose the Saints' beat up defense. And in our next matchup, we have the battle, the NFC East. We have the Washington Commanders versus the Giants, with the Commanders being favored by 3.5 and the over-under being 44.5. The Commanders are coming off a Hail Mary win against the crappy Bears. Yes, the Bears have a winning record, but they're the Bears. They're like the Jets. They're always going to be the Jets. Terrible, awful, always going to shoot themselves in the foot like the Bears did. And they had that cornerback in the corner celebrating, going after fans, and that's exactly what you get. You're being an asshole to the fans, and what happens? A Hail Mary thrown at you. So the Bears being the Bears, they just shot themselves in the foot in that game. So the Commanders, they throw a Hail Mary win to win that game, and they win it. That game was boring for the most part, by the way. If you guys watched that Bears and Commanders game, man, snooze fest. The Bears finally put some points on the board to be ahead, and Commanders get a lucky win. But for the majority of that game, outside the last seconds of the fourth quarter, or last few minutes of the fourth quarter, it was terrible. It was boring. It was awful. Commanders, one of the best offenses in the league. Great running game in Robinson, Scary Terry, Ertz, good weapons for Daniels. Daniels still rushing the ball really well. Looks like he's still beat up, He didn't look too fully healthy in that Bears game. Looks a bit slow, but, he still got the win for him. And when he threw that big deep ball, that Hail Mary, he looked good throwing it. He got away out of the pocket so he wouldn't get sacked, and he threw it there. So he is beat up, but he's looking good while being hurt. They've won 4 out of the last 5 games, the Commanders, but people remember this. This is a big but here, and I can see why the line is this close. They've won 4 out of the last 5 games, but they've only beat one team with a winning record. So they have 6 wins. 1 is from a team with a winning record, and that's the team they beat with the Hail Mary, the Bears. And the Bears, to me, are not that great. They're like a year or 2 away, the Bears. So, what's that say? I've been saying it for the last couple weeks. I think the Commanders, once they start playing some very hard competition, they will go down. They will start losing games. So, they finally beat their first winning team in the Bears, and they needed a Hail Mary to do it. That is not good. If you want to bet the Commanders, they're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games as a favorite. So good for that if you want to bet the Commanders. And briefly about the Giants. Let's talk about the Giants. They're coming off a loss to the Steelers. It's the Giants and they got blown out. They have now lost 3 games in a row. Danny Dimes is awful. He has 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. They found something in Tracy Jr., the rookie running back. A good dual threat running back. He has 73 carries for 376 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he's good at catching the ball. I think he's a converted wide receiver, actually. So great find by them. That's one thing they have. And they have Neighbors, good rookie wide receiver, 498 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. And they still got Robinson and Slayton, so not bad wide receiving core. But they got a crappy quarterback. Danny Dimes is awful. I don't need to tell you guys that. The guy is awful, awful, awful. So, they can hang their head on that their front 7 can get after the quarterback. Brian Burns, all of them. Lawrence, they all could get to the quarterback. So, that's one thing the Giants can't hang their on. But their secondary is god awful. The Giants are only averaging 7.8 points a game at home. So let me repeat that. The Giants are only averaging 7.8 points a game at home. That is awful. Danny Jones hasn't thrown a single touchdown pass in the last 3 games. The last 3 games. He hasn't thrown 1 passing touchdown, and they are only putting up 7.8 points at home. The Giants are awful. Awful, awful. I don't even know how the hell they got 2 wins. How the hell did that happen? Their starting left tackle, one of the best in the league. He's out, and they're terrible when he's out without them. So this is easy for me. My prediction for this game is give me Washington to cover the 3.5 and give me the over 44.5. I think the Commanders can put 25, 27 points on them. And I think the Giants can muster up some points with the running game and I think they're going to have to try to keep up with the Commanders. And I think maybe they get to 20 points themselves. But I could see this being a 47 total game. But give me the Commanders plus 3.5. The Giants are horrible. They haven't won 1 game at home. And Danny Dimes is looking like the bum of the bums. Just get rid of the guy. Let him warm up the bench. put in the popcorn vendor, give him a try. Then maybe the Giants will have a chance of winning this game. But no, give me Washington covering the number and the over. And now we have the Dallas Cowboys versus the Atlanta Falcons, with the Falcons being favored by 3 points and the over and under being 51.5. That's a big number. Dallas is coming off a loss against the 49ers. 49ers were beat up as well, and they still lose. Dallas had a great McCarthy, their head coach, has a great record coming off for a bye, and they just lose the game. This team just looks, it kind of looks like they're giving up a bit. I know they're hurt on defense, but a lot of people are hurt. They have the worst rushing offense in the league. The worst. Ezekiel Elliott, Rico, all those guys are god-awful. I do not know why the Cowboys don't throw like a 5th or 6th rounder to a team and get an average running back or anybody. Anybody's better than these guys. A construction worker is better than the running backs the Dallas Cowboys have. I do not understand why they don't just go get somebody. But Jerry Jones, the guy, I think he's checking out. He's just like, we'll be better next year. I think he's checked out. The guy's giving tours to people while his players are practicing. It's just unbelievable with this team. What the hell is going on in the Dallas Cowboys stadium? I guess one thing you can hang the hat on, they're the 3rd best passing team. They average 256 yards passing, but because they have no running game, they have nothing. It's to CeeDee Lamb, and that's it. They do have Ferguson at tight end. He's all right. And they actually have another decent wide receiver, but nobody really to even remember because I can't remember him. They have a terrible rush defense to go with their terrible rush offense. They're ranked 31st. So if you want to put BJ Robinson on an anytime TD, this is the best time to do it because they can't play against the rush at all. They rank 30th in the turnover margin, so they're getting no interceptions, no fumbles. Just throw the ball, just rush the ball on us. Go ahead, run in for the touchdown. They're 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 games against NFC opponents. So they're doing terrible in their own conference. And they're 1-5 against the spread in the last 6 games. So they're not even covering games. Even though they're 3-4, they can't cover worth crap. So nothing to be confident here if you want to bet the Dallas Cowboys plus the points. Now let's talk about the Falcons. The Falcons coming off a win against the Buccaneers. That was a shootout. I think they only won by 5 points, 31-26, I believe. The Falcons have a really good offense. They can pass the ball. They're ranked 6th in passing. And they're putting up 24 points a game, which is ranked 12th. And they're averaging 120 rushing yards. So not bad. That's middle of the pack. It's average. I'm surprised the year Mooney's having, not just Drake London. Drake London's doing great with 525 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. But I'm actually surprised about Mooney, the guy who they got from the Bears. I believe he was on the Bears, and he did not look good on the Bears. He's having a great, decent year. I feel like Bijan and Tyler Algier will end up eating the Dallas Cowboys. So if you like I said, if you want to bet Bijan anytime TD, I think this is the best time to do it. But the thing about the Atlanta Falcons is their defense is not so great. Their secondary is pretty, AJ Terrell, everybody thought he was going to be really great. He's not doing so good. Their best secondary weapon is Bates. So he's all over the field. He looks great, by the way, but they've allowed 90 points combined in their last 3 games. So they're letting teams score on them. So that being said, let me make this quick. I know the over is a big number at 51.5, but I'm taking the over. I think this game's going to be like 34-24 or 34-21. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the Atlanta or the Cowboys could get to 30 points. And if I was going to choose a winner here, I think I'll choose Atlanta minus the 3.5, being, like I said, a 30-24 game or a 28-24 game. But the best bet here, I believe, is the over 51.5. And man, do we have a god-awful game here. God-awful. We have the Patriots versus the Titans. Tennessee being favored by 3.5. and the over-under being 38. Vegas is telling you that this is probably going to be a low-scoring game. So be prepared. Bring your pillow. Get comfortable if you're going to watch this game because you will be falling asleep. Not going to take too much time with this. Patriots are coming off an upset win over the Jets. That's really great. I was actually impressed. But that just says more about the Jets, that the Jets will always be the Jets. Terrible. So good win for them. Drake May got concussed during that game. So boring Brissett came in there. He didn't do terrible, actually. He actually looked very serviceable. And he got them the win. So not too bad. They got some okay weapons. Like I'll just repeat it again. They have Stevenson and Gibson at running back. They have now Bourne at wide receiver. Polk, Hunter Henry is probably their best weapon. He's the tight end. And they have Douglas. So they have an okay, receivers and tight ends. Nothing to brag about. But Drake May being gone, you lose the juice they had Drake May in the 2 games he started surpassed Brissett in touchdowns thrown, and Brissett started like 4 games. So, what's I say Brissett? The guy is boring on boring. The guy is not that great. And I think the offense will be hopeless with Brissett. So, and they're 5-1 against the spread, the Patriots, and they're 1-2 against the spread as a road team. So nothing to be confident there. The Titans, who's going to be the quarterback for this team? Is it Levis? Is it Mason Rudolph? So is it terrible or is it awful? Is it garbage or is it trash? You choose. They're both crap, but you know what? You got to choose the better crap, I guess. They're coming off an embarrassing, like they should have been waving the white flag at halftime. An embarrassing loss to the Lions. Lions dropped over 50 points on them. I think it was 51. Unbelievable loss. So I don't. Should the Titans even come to play this game? That's how bad it was. Okay. They only put up 14 points against the Lions too. You think because they're getting blown out. They were getting blown out as soon as the game started. But you'd think after they were losing by like three touchdowns, 4 touchdowns at halftime, they would get some garbage time touchdowns. No, they still only got 14 points. So I'm not going to take more time on this. It's just 2 shit teams. Not personally going to bet this one at all, but if I'm going to play this, I think the best play is the under 38. I don't see these teams putting up a lot of points. Tennessee actually has a still good defense. They actually do. So that's like the only thing they got going for themselves. So I think they hold the New England Patriots from scoring any points. And I think the Titans, as much as I try to believe in them with their decent running back and their decent wide receiver in Ridley and Pollard, I can't trust them. Their quarterbacks are awful. So I think under 38, I think whoever gets the 21st wins again. 2014 could be the score. And if I had to choose a team, I would just take New England plus the points. Give me any points with these crappy teams. But I think the best bet is the under 38. In our last afternoon game, we had the Jaguars versus my Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia being favored by 7.5 and the over-under being 45.5. Jaguars coming off a close loss to the Packers. I really thought they could have won that game, but what are you going to do? And I really looked into it. The Jaguars are 2-6, and I was wondering, what's why are they so terrible? And you look at the numbers, the offense is not that bad. Trevor Lawrence is having a good year. 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and he's thrown over 1,800 yards. They have a great rookie wide receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. He has 33 receptions for 573 yards and 5 touchdowns. The other young guy, Bigsby, the running back, really great. 85 carries, almost 500 yards, and he has 4 touchdowns. He's almost averaging 6 yards a carry. That's really great numbers. So you wonder, like, why are they doing so terrible? Let's get into it. The Jaguars, I know I just mentioned Brian Thomas Jr., so I just want to mention that he is hurt, and I don't think he's going to play the game. They say that he is questionable for this game, but before that, they say he was week to week. If I'm the Jaguars, I am not putting him out there. You're 2-6. You're 0-4 when you play away. You're not making the playoffs. Do not risk your future. Brian, let him get healthier, then put him out there to play. Hopefully the Jaguars don't put him out there for the kid's safety, and just save your prized possession. Wait till next year, or wait till a couple weeks to get him out there to play some more. But I don't think today's the game, so I think they're going to keep him out. But also their other wide receiver, Christian Kirk, he's out for the year. He's done. So they don't really have too many weapons to throw to now. Okay, they have Washington, and I forget the other guy. Gabe Davis and Washington. Those are the two guys they have now, and those guys are not so great. They have a good running back, so they're probably gonna rely on the running backs. So when you wonder why, when their offense looks pretty decent, you wonder why they're doing so terribly this year. Well, it's the defense. They're second and last against the pass. They allow the most passing touchdowns in the league. So there you go. Their secondary is just ass city. So, that's great. It's great for my Philadelphia Eagles. Terrible for the Jaguars because it looks like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are going to have a field day against the secondary. And a little more tidbits here for the Jaguars. They have lost 7 straight road games, and they're 1-6 against the spread when they're playing against the NFC East. So they can't cover the spread at all when they play against the NFC East. So it's not looking real good for the Jaguars here. Eagles are coming off a blowout win against the Bengals. Thank God I'm an Eagles fan. The Bengals were favored in that game, actually. And they also blew out the Giants before that. The whole team is rolling. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Barkley. Barkley's had back-to-back games now, rushing over 100 yards. So that's great. They're averaging almost 30 points a game in this 3-game winning streak since they've won 3 games since they got off the bye, and they're almost averaging 30 points a game. Hurts has gone 4 straight games now without throwing an interception. That's great. They're turning into a rushing team like we all said they should, or at least I said they should. He has 5 rushing touchdowns, Hurts, in the last 2 games, and they're really leaning on Barkley to pound the ball, pound the rock, and then you go over the top with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Beautiful, beautiful. This is what they should have been doing since the first game of the season. And Cooper DeJean, I can't talk enough of that rookie. The rookie they drafted out of Iowa. They pit him in the secondary, finally to replace Avant Maddox in the nickel corner, and that guy has brought juice to this team. He's put a boost. Great tackler. The guy's going after the quarterback. He's playing great pass defense as well. You can't throw on the guy at all. And the other, our cornerback, who we drafted, Mitchell, in the first round, he looks great as well. The guy's going to be the top 5 in Defensive Rookie of the Year because you can't really pass on him. So these rookie corners are looking really great. But I really want to mention Cooper DeJean because he's added a spark to this defense. And ever since they put him Nick put him in the starting lineup, they've been great. The defense has been top 10 passing defense since they put him in. Like I said, they're top 10 in defense and passing yards, and they've only allowed 8 touchdowns so far, their secondary. That's another great thing you want to see. Their front 7 are finally getting after the quarterback. Nolan, the first round from 2 years ago, looks like something's changed. He's getting after the quarterback, and he's putting pressure on the opposing team. Huff is now looking good. Now they're keeping him to mostly passing downs and not having him do much more as a linebacker. Nakobe Dean is getting after the quarterback. So the front 7 is looking great. Brandon Graham playing really great. So they're getting after the quarterback, and that's really good because the left tackle for the Jaguars is like okay. He's average. He didn't start the majority of the games. Cam Robinson started with the majority of the games for the Jaguars, and they shipped him out. They traded him to the Minnesota Vikings. So now they have the backup left tackle starting now probably for the rest of the year. They have won 6 straight games against AFC South opponents, the Philadelphia Eagles. Another great thing you want to see if you're going to bet the Eagles. But I'm not just going to be glaze the Eagles here because I'm an Eagles fan. They are 1-5 against the spread in their last 6 home games. I don't know what is against the home games. The Eagles play better on the road this year against the spread than they do in home games, which I don't understand. That being said, not trying to be a homer. I took the Cincinnati Bengals last week. Stupid of me. I don't see how the Jaguars keep up with the Eagles offense. I just don't see how. They have a decent running game. They still got that. And Bigsby and Travis Etienne. But their two weapons, offensive weapons, are hurt. So the opposing defense, the Eagles defense, doesn't really need to fear the passing game that much from the Jaguars. So give me the Eagles covering the 7.5. And I also like the over 45.5 in this game as well. But I think the best bet here is the Eagles covering 7.5. I think they run away with this game. I think it's like 31-20 or 31-17. So give me the 7.5 and the over for 45.5. But my best play, Eagles winning and covering the number. And our next matchup is a good matchup. We have two teams, both trying to make it in the playoffs. Their playoff chances are still good. That is the Bears versus the Cardinals, with the Cardinals being favored by 1.5 and the over-under being 44.5. Chicago's coming off a crazy loss with that Hail Mary by the Commanders. It's embarrassing that their corner was celebrating and taunting fans, and that Hail Mary hits. I mean, God, that was so embarrassing for that cornerback. The game was awful for the most part in that game. The Bears, I don't think they ever led. I mean, it's admirable that they held the Commanders to that many points. So their defense did look good, the Bears. But overall, it was a snooze fest of a game, except those last couple minutes in the fourth quarter. The play calling with the Bears in that game was awful. Like, what were they doing? Who's calling the plays on here? I think I saw a couple QB runs when they should have ran the game. It was just awful called game by the Bears. And it's like, God, stop being the Bears. Like, the Bears are like the Jets. They're just always terrible. They're always going to shoot themselves in the foot. It's unbelievable. Like, Bears, can you just stop being the Bears? My God. The defense is still good, so that's something they hang their hat on. They've allowed less than 20 points in 6 of their last 7 games. So, pretty decent, pretty good. They are probably getting back 2 of their starters on defense, and Brisker and Gordon. I believe one's a safety and one's a corner. So they get 2 new guys back in for this game. But the Bears, just like, kind of like the Commanders, the team they just played, the Bears' wins are against terrible teams. They haven't beaten anyone with a winning record. So sorry, Bears fans, you're 4-3, you're 0-3 away. You're looking like, hey, we can still get a wild card spot, but you only beat teams that are terrible teams. You haven't beaten one good team. You haven't beaten one team with a winning record. And you almost had a chance, and the Commanders do a Hail Mary and they beat you guys. So, they already have 2 losses against running quarterbacks. So they already have 2 losses against. So there's a little pattern here. They have a good defense, but running quarterbacks gives them trouble. So we're seeing a pattern here. And they're 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 games against NFC opponents. So that's something there if you want to hang your hat on, if you want to bet the Bears. The Cardinals, the first place Cardinals, actually. Never mind. The first place Cardinals. Who would have thought that they'd be the head of the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks? But I think the Cardinals are going to come back to earth. They do have Kyle Murray, and they have a solid they're starting to put a nice core around him, but that defense is still god-awful. God-awful defense. Coming off a fourth quarter comeback to win against the Dolphins. I had the Dolphins on the other side. Dolphins were up 9 points at one point in the fourth quarter, and they make a comeback win, and they win. Great, good. That's their show that they have grit, and they're not giving up. Murray's having a great year this year. He has 1,630 yards passing and 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions and a couple rushing touchdowns. So that he's looking really great. Their tight end, McBride, he's looking like one of the future tight ends. Him and Bowers look like they're going to be the next great tight ends, taking the torch from the other great tight ends who are getting a little older. So he looks really great. He has 42 receptions for 446 yards, no touchdowns, but he had over 100 yards receiving in the game against the Dolphins. So, good look for him. They're 7th in rushing, not bad. Connor looks great. Murray using his legs. Connor is really reliable. He's like that car. He's like a Toyota Corolla, man. You turn that car on, it could be over 200,000 miles, but that car will turn over. He's been healthy. He had some injury problems in the past, but now that guy always gives you 60 to 100 yards. He's a great running back to have. But like I said, why Kyle Murray, he has to play Superman all the time because they have a piss poor defense. Their secondary is awful. So this is a tough game to predict. Bears are coming off an embarrassing Hail Mary loss. One of their cornerbacks gets embarrassed by taunting fans and losing that game. So with that, I think the best play here, though, is the 44.5. I think the Cardinals defense is terrible. Swift is looking good for the running back is looking good for the Bears. I think Murray uses his legs enough to get past the Bears defense and put up good drives that last long, and he gets first downs. And I think Caleb could put up a good enough game to put up at least over 20 points. I think he can because the Cardinals can't really get after the quarterback, and they have a crappy defense. So I think he can have a solid game. I think the good wide receiver core around him will actually put up some decent numbers. His offensive line could hold the Arizona's defense because they're like I just said, they can't rush the quarterback too well. So I think the Bears could put up 20 to 24 points in this game, and I also think the Cardinals could put up 20 points in this game as well. So I think the best play here is the over 44.5. I just think these teams will put up both over 20 points each, and they get that number for us. And now we have the best matchup of the week with the Detroit Lions versus the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. Detroit favored by 2.5, and the over and under being 48.5. I believe this is the first matchup, the first true test the Packers have to see if they're actually a great team. They did beat the Texans and the Colts, but I think the Colts are not that great. I think they're fool's gold. And the Texans, a good team, and they did beat them by only 2 points, but hey, it was still a good win by the Packers. But I think this is their first true test to see if they're really a great team. Love is questionable. He got a little banged up in the Jaguars game. They barely beat the Jaguars by 3 points, so that's something you really don't want to see. And the Jaguars put 27 points against the Green Bay Packers defense. Another thing you don't want to see. But the most thing that you get the Packer fans and bettors, what you want to keep an eye on is he still can't stop turning the ball over. Jordan Love, before he got hurt in that game, he threw an interception and no touchdowns passing. He has 9 total interceptions, and he's missed 2 games this year. So he haven't played a full season, and he's tied for the league in interceptions. The guy needs to stop turning the ball over. They turned the ball over against the Eagles, the best team they've played so far, and they lost that game because he turned the ball over. If they turn the ball over, if he keeps on throwing picks against the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Lions offense will eat that up. They will take advantage of that and put up points against the Packers. So the guy needs to stop turning the ball over. The Packers are on a 4-game winning streak. They're 4-4 for the season against the spread. Not terrible. They have an all-around great offense. Reed. For wide receivers, they have Reed, Dobbs, Wicks, Christian Watson, another good guy. And they have Kraft at tight end, another good tight end. And they have Jacobs at running back. So they have a good core offense. I have no idea this guy is throwing the ball over. Jordan Love throwing so many interceptions. The Packers are 2-5 in the last 7 games against Detroit. So that's not too good. Detroit looks like Detroit's been having their number lately. Which another thing you guys got to keep an eye out for, that their best corner Alexander is questionable. He's hurt, so they need him. They need him because they need all the weapons they have on defense to stop the Detroit Lions' awesome offense. They're lucky that the Detroit offense is going to be out with Williamson because he got suspended for 2 games. So that's actually a godsend for them, because with him stretching the field and him, St. Brown covering the middle of the field, that's a 1-2 killer combo there. Great statistic right here for the Green Bay Packers. Matt LaFleur is 22-10 against the spread as an underdog overall. Those are great numbers. They're 17-4 against the spread as an underdog of 3+ points or more. So that is really great to hear. And they won 4 of their last 5 games as a home underdog as well. So the Packers are showing you when they're coming in as an underdog at home as well, they are covering good spreads. And LaFleur, the guy looks like he loves being an underdog. So that's a good thing to hear if you want to take the Packers. Let's go with Detroit. They're coming off a 50-piece. They just took bell to ass to the Titans. 51 points scored. Unbelievable. They didn't even let up on them. They just pounded them. But that's good. I mean, teach the Titans a lesson. Get out of the NFL. So great win by Detroit. They're averaging 38.4 points a game during this winning streak. So they're putting up almost 40 points a game during this current winning streak they're on right now. They're on a 5-game winning streak. So that's how both these teams are on good winning streaks. And during that stretch, Lions have covered every game. They have covered the number every game in this 5-game winning streak. Really great. They have been winning for bettors. Lions pass defense is ranked 27th, so that's something the Packers can expose. But is Love healthy? Can he put a weight on that back foot or his legs in general and throw it to his wide receivers with this terrible passing defense of the Lions? And that's always been the Lions' Achilles heel the last few years or couple years. They can't get secondary help for their life. It depends on it. And when they do draft guys, they're not doing well. So their secondary can be exposed. During this win streak, only one team had a winning record. So take that with a grain of salt. This winning record, they're putting up a bunch of points, but they only being one team with a winning record. They have a good red zone defense. They rank 9th in that. Goff, for anybody who wants to take the Packers, and you want to be, this is a good statistic for you. Since it's in Lambeau, Goff has historically struggles playing outside. He's 38% more likely to throw interceptions. He has a 10% lower passer rating, and he throws 18% fewer touchdowns. So the guy does not like throwing outside. So that's good. I hear it's going to rain in Green Bay as well. So looking like a little nice there for the Green Bay Packers there. But overall, Goff is having a great year. He has a completion rate of 74.1, which I believe is the best in the league. And they have a bunch of weapons. They have the best running back punch in the whole league. And Montgomery and Gibbs, Thunder and Lightning, those guys are really great. Good tight end in Laporta. St. Brown wide receiver. Tim Patrick and Raymond at the other wide receivers who are going to be covering for Williamson. And they have a good offensive line. So they have a great offense as well. But it will be raining and it'll be around 50 degrees in Lambeau. So keep that in mind. So with all that being said, I keep on coming back to these two stats that LaFleur is 22-10 against the spread as an underdog overall. And the Packers are 17-4 against the spread as an underdog when it comes to 3 points or more. And they were, I believe this line opened as Detroit as a 3.5 favorite. So all that being said, give me the Packers plus 3.5. I also don't like Goff when he's playing outside. Like I said, in Lambeau, it's going to rain. It's going to be 50 degrees. So give me the Packers plus 3.5. I don't know if they win outright, but I think they keep it close enough for the 3.5 to cover. And also give me the 48.5. If it does start raining, both these teams have great running backs. And I believe they can still use the play action and go over the top and score some points. So, and the Detroit secondary is awful. So give me the over 48.5, but my best play, the Packers plus 3.5 points. And we have another really great matchup here. Battle of the NFC West, and I mean that figuratively. The Rams versus Seattle, with the Rams being favored by 1 point and the over-under being 47.5. I said that figuratively, and this is going to be a great matchup because nobody in this division is running away. The Cardinals are 4-4. The 49ers are 4-4. The Seahawks are 4-4, and the Rams are 3-4. So this division is up for grabs. So this is a very meaningful game for both these teams. The Rams coming in off an upset win against the Minnesota Vikings. They beat the Vikings 30-20. When this team's offense is fully healthy, it's really great. You got the two great weapons and the receivers and Cooper Kupp and Puka. These guys are really great together. And then you have a really great running back in Kyrie Williams. And Kyrie Williams has 533 yards rushing and 8 TDs. So Matthew Stafford has all these weapons around him when they're healthy. And they got Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell is a great third wide receiver. He was carrying the load when those two guys were out. So they have surrounded by really great weapons. But they've been hurt. That's why they're 3-4. They come in on a 2-game winning streak, so that's really great for the Rams. They've been looking better ever since they got their offense healthy, but they did have a setback. Puka did get hurt during practice. He re-aggravated that knee that he was out from the beginning of the season. So he's questionable for this game. So keep that in mind. But Kupp is still fully to go. He's not questionable. That's good. They need one of those weapons. And then Tutu can help. But Puka is questionable. And I'm hearing he might not play. So keep that in mind before you bet this game. They really can't get after the quarterback. That's a bad thing about the Rams. Their defense is averages, if you will. They can't sack the quarterback whatsoever. That's not really great because the Seattle Seahawks are one of the best passing offense. They're the number one passing offense. And if you give Geno Smith time, he could get to his wide receivers. They have a good wide receiving team. They're ranked 12th in passing, the Rams. They average 222 yards passing. They average 20 points a game, which is ranked 23rd, so not too good. And they're only averaging 101 yards rushing, which is ranked 26th. But Kyrie Williams, they're just teams where we're putting against loading up the box because they couldn't throw the ball that well. So they were just guarding Kyrie Williams. So I think the number their rushing yards will get better for a team. And they're allowing teams scoring 25 points against them. So with all that being said, let's get the Seahawks. Seahawks, like I said, they're the best passing team in the league. DK Metcalf is questionable for this game. Keep an eye on that. He stretches the field for them. They need him to play because Lockett and Smith like playing the middle of the field. They don't really stretch it like Metcalf does. And Metcalf opens a running game for them too, and Walker and Charbonnet. So they need Metcalf on this team. They're coming off a blowout loss against the Buffalo. Buffalo put belt to ass on them, so not a good look. They've now lost 4 out of the last 5 games after starting 3-0. I said when they started 3-0, guys, that they were fool's gold. Do not believe in them. People were jumping on this secondary, man, just a bunch of ball hawks. They didn't play nobody in those 3 games. They played the Patriots and the Dolphins, and Dolphins were without Tua, and they had to go in overtime to beat the Patriots when the Patriots are god-awful, one of the worst teams in the league. So they were fool's gold. Like I said, Bills put a whopping on them. Number 1 passing attack, 5th worst rushing attack. It's hard to believe that with Walker and Charbonnet, but they have one of the worst rushing attacks in the league. They're ranked 29th in rush defense. Not good if you, especially since you're playing against Kyrie Williams. I would take Kyrie Williams as an anytime TD, by the way, because if their rush defense is that terrible, give me Kyrie Williams to score a touchdown. And like I said, they're like the Rams. They got a bunch of weapons in offense, but their defense are average to worse. So with that being said, I think the writing's on the board. I like the over in this game, over 47.5. And I also like the Rams winning money line. But I think the best player is 47.5. I think even if Puka doesn't play, I like Kupp and Tutu Atwell, and I like Kyrie Williams running on this terrible Seattle rush defense. So I think the 47.5 is the best play here. But if I was going to bet one of the teams to win, I do like the Rams because I just trust the Rams defense more than I trust the Seahawks defense. And I like the weapons, if they're healthy on the Rams, more than I do like the Seahawks. So give me the Rams winning, but the best play over 47.5. And for our last Sunday game, we have the Sunday night football game, Colts versus the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings being favored by 5 points and the over-under being 46.5. Colts are coming off a close loss to the Texans, which they should have won. I mean, Richardson, God, that guy, thank God he's finally getting replaced. Here we go. They're finally replacing Richardson. I've been saying it for weeks that if they actually wanted to be a serious team and try to make it to the playoffs, they needed to bench Richardson. Let the guy develop. He's too inconsistent. Either he'll throw it miles away from his receiver or he'll make a great play. He's too inconsistent. They get steady Joe Flacco, which is going to raise the weapons. The weapons on this team are really good. It's just going to raise the roof more for this team to score points. Got Pittman, a wide receiver. Downs and Pierce, good receiving core. They have Taylor at running back, one of the better running backs when he's healthy. And they have a good offensive line, and now you have a competent quarterback. They're going to put up points, okay? And the Vikings secondary is ass. So they could pass on the Vikings secondary. With Flacco at QB, the Colts are 2-1, and they've scored 27 points per game, and they average 358 yards as well. So there you go. With Flacco at the helm, they are just a better offensive team, okay? Anybody who wants to bet the Colts are 7-1 against the spread. The best team against the spread. So, that on top of Flacco being the quarterback, I think it's all good signs for the Colts to actually ruffle the Vikings' feathers here. Let's give the Vikings, they're coming off a loss to the Rams, 30-20, embarrassing loss. They were the favorites. And they're on a 2-game losing streak. So, they need to keep it together because the Lions look on fire. Packers have won 4 in a row. Like I said, the Lions are on fire. They've won 5 games in a row. The Bears, they stumbled a little bit against the Commanders, but they have a winning record as well. So they got to keep on winning as well, or they're going to go down the crapper too. They traded for Cam Robinson from the Jaguars. He got benched because he wasn't doing too well, but they needed some kind of left tackle because they lost their starting left tackle for the year. So they bring in Cam Robinson. Maybe a new system will raise Cam Robinson's game up, but they needed somebody, and they got Cam Robinson. They've allowed 61 points in the last 2 games to opponents. So teams are scoring on them, 61 points allowed in the last 2 games. They are 5-2 against the spread, and they're 2-1 against the spread at home. So not too bad, not too shabby. They got so many weapons. Just like the Colts, they have weapons. You have JJ, arguably the best wide receiver in the game. You have Addison. You have Aaron Jones, great running back. And you have possibly Hawkinson back for this game. TJ Hawkinson is questionable for this game. Great tight end. When he was fully healthy, he was a top 5 tight end in this league. So great, be a great added weapon to them. And their defense their front 7, it's not too bad. They can get after the quarterback with Hunter and I believe Cashman, I believe his name is. Forgive me if I'm saying his name wrong, but they could get after the quarterback. So they can sack the QB. But the Colts have a good offensive line, so it'll be a good see who's going to win who's going to win in the trenches here. So with all that being said, the Vikings have a shitty secondary. Both these teams have great weapons, so I think this is easy. Give me the over 46.5. I think this is the best bet. I think it's going to be a 28-24 kind of game or 30-24. But these teams can both score on each other, and I think that's the best bet. So give me the over 46.5. Try to get it before it gets to 47.5, but that's the best play. So guys, those are my week 9 predictions. Just to give you a little recap, the 3 weeks before this, I've been above 500 each week for the last 3 weeks. So hopefully this week is another week where I'm above 500. And my best bets are 11-2. 11-2 for the last 4 weeks. So I've been killing it on my best bets. So if you've been telling me, you've won some money. So with all that being said, let's get my best bets now. I actually like a few more. I usually give you 3 games I like as my best bets, but this time I like around 5 or 6 games. But I'm going to give you 3 that I really like the most, and then I'm going to give you some honorable mentions, which I'm leaning towards betting or could have been a best bet as well. So let's get into it. My best bets for week 9 in the NFL. All right, our first one is the Rams in Seattle over 47.5. I like this even if Puka is not going to play. I heard he's going to try, but if he doesn't, I still like it. I think they got enough juice with Tutu Atwell, Kupp, and Kyren Williams, the running back. Kyren Williams is a great running back, and Seattle's run defense is terrible. So I think Kyle Williams could also get a touchdown in this game. So if you want to bet that, go right ahead. And Seattle has the best passing game in the league, and the Rams can't get after the they can't get to the quarterback. They're not a good team that can sack the quarterback. Pay attention. DK Metcalf is questionable, but it's looking like he will play the game. So keep an eye on that. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and it's also going to be a tight game because both these teams are trying to win their division. So give me the over 47.5 and the Rams and Seattle game. And for my second best bet, I like the over in the Bears versus the Cardinals. The over being 44.5. I just think the Cardinals, their defense is not good. It's not good. The Commanders have a better defense than the Cardinals. So I think the Bears, with all their weapons, can actually put up a better game than they did with the Cardinals and put up some points. I think they could put up at least 18 to 24 points on the Cardinals. The Bears do have good weapons. They just got to utilize all those weapons, and they need to make better calls. The offensive coordinator needs to make better calls so they can put points on the board. But I think they do. The Cardinals defense is not good. They can't get off the quarterback, so Caleb Williams will have time to throw the ball. But I also think the Cardinals, they can, I think Murray with his legs could extend this drive and hurt the Bears defense. The Bears already lost to 2 quarterbacks who could run the ball. I think Murray could hurt the Bears as well. So I think he extends some drives with his legs. They use Connor to get in there. They use their tight end McBride to score as well. So I think this game goes over 44.5. I'm thinking 27-20 kind of game, but they do cover. So give me the over in the Bears versus Cardinals game. And for my third and final best bet, I like the over in the Colts and Vikings game. The Vikings have a terrible, terrible secondary, which is great for the Colts. Colts are now going to be starting Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco has plenty of weapons. He has Downs, he has Pittman, he has Pierce. They have a great running back in Taylor, and they have a good offensive line. So I think the Colts put enough points to win this game. I see them putting 20, 21 points. And the Vikings have a great offense too. They have Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers. They have their running back in Aaron Jones. And they have Addison, the other wide receiver. And I'm pretty sure Hawkinson might play this game. From what I'm reading, he will play the game. One of the best tight ends in the league. So they have great weapons as well. So I think this goes over the number. I think it's going to be a 28-24, 30-24 game. But give me the over in the Colts versus Vikings game. And these next picks are my honorable mention picks. They could have been best bets, but I like the other games just a bit more. But I was close to put these on my best bets list. So let's just be quick with them real quick. I like the over in the Giants and Commanders game. I think the Commanders could put up 24 to 27 points on the Giants. The Giants have a crappy secondary, and the Commanders, I think they bounce back from playing a tough Bears defense. And I think the Giants, I think they could put it together and they could put 18 to 20 points on the Commanders. The Commanders defense is average at best. But I think the Giants can contribute with that as well. And I also like the Browns money line. Cleveland are underdog at home. They just beat the Baltimore Ravens, so the adrenaline is up, the juice is up. People are believing in Jameis Winston here. I like the vibes he's bringing. The Chargers offense is awful. They depend on their defense and the running game, but mostly they depend on the defense to hold the opponents to low scoring points. But I like the Browns eking one out against the Chargers in Cleveland. And I like my Philadelphia Eagles to cover the 7.5 against the Jaguars. This was really close to making my best bets. The only thing is that Eagles are not really a good covering team when they play home. I just don't know why, but they're not a good covering team. They covered the last 2 games, but now they play in Philadelphia. I just don't know how the Jaguars keep up with them. Both their wide receivers are hurt. One's out for the year. One's questionable. He's probably not going to play. The rookie wide receiver, Brian Thompson Jr., he's probably not going to play this game. So Trevor Lawrence's 2 top wide receivers are out. And the other guy their other receivers hurt as well. So they're just banged up on offense. They're going to have to rely on the run. And the Eagles are just rolling on offense and defense. So I don't know how the Jaguars keep up with the Eagles. I see the Eagles winning 30 points to 20 or 34 to 20, but I could see them winning by 2 scores in this game. So give me the Eagles minus the 7.5. So guys, those are my predictions for week 9 in the NFL and my best bets and some honorable mentions there as well. I like a lot of games this week, a lot of games. I could have made 6 games the best bets, but I decided to go with 3. The top 3 I think they're going to hit. But man, I like a lot of games this week. And hopefully they hit for me and they hit for you. If you guys tell me, I'm 11-2 in my best bets the last 4 weeks. 11-2. We're just, so if you're telling me you made some money, and I've been above 500 predicting every week the last 4 weeks as well. So I'm winning, I'm picking winners, and I'm keeping above 500. So let's make some money this week, guys. Tell me what you think. Like and subscribe. Comment if I missed anything, any information. I'd love to hear any of it. It helps me make money, helps you make money. So let's get it. Let's make some money. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one.